Good morning and welcome to Unity Way Church. Happy Sunday. I'm so happy that you have decided to spend your Sunday morning with us at our service here at Unity Way Church. And I want to share with you our opening affirmation is from Wings of Prayer, and this one is from Daily Word, September the 5th, 1962, and it is: the same healing spirit that worked through Jesus works through me. Again, the same healing spirit that worked through Jesus works through me. Let's just breathe into that truth this morning. Let's just breathe in that knowingness. Let's fill up our heart space and know that we are divine, that we are special, and that with every breath that we take in to our soul space and our heart space, we truly allow it to permeate our whole being all the way out into our aura. We truly are plugged in, keyed into the vibration of the Holy Spirit. And as good Unity True students, we know there is only one presence and one power, one life, one substance, one joy, one understanding. And if we breathe into that truth again this morning, I invite you just to take a deep cleansing breath and just know that you are here by a divine appointment, that we are blessed. We truly know that we are Unity students and we go forth to have a wonderful service. And I'd like to set the intention to this morning that during this service, each and every one of us will receive a healing on some level. And whether we know where that healing occurs, we do know that whenever we are exposed to truth, absolute truth, a healing always occurs somewhere in our soul consciousness. And if you believe that truth with me, expand it into your heart space, breathe it out into the room that you're in right now. And we will use the mantra we use here at our church, which is, thank you, God, and so it is, amen. And now, Cynthia.
Good morning. The daily word for today is kindness. And the affirmation is, I flow with divine love as I give and receive kindness. The word kindness triggers feelings of warmth, connection, and love in my heart. I smile as I recall ways that friends, family members, and others have shown me kindness. I feel again the gratitude and blessing I experienced in those moments. Gratitude, love, and a beautiful awareness of connection fill my heart and mind in a remarkably similar way when I remember kindnesses I shared. The movement of electrons through a wire creates a current, a flow. As kindness moves from person to person, it creates a flow of divine love. Both giving and receiving are essential to this current of love. So I look for opportunities to share acts of kindness. I welcome with a grateful heart the kindness others share with me. And from Micah 6:8, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God? And again, the affirmation, I flow with divine love as I give and receive kindness.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. And kindness, what a perfect truth word for this morning. We're going to be talking about having or experiencing a spiritual wake-up call. And kindness has something to do with it because we need to be kind to ourselves. Because if we're not kind to ourselves, we can't share it with the world around us. So that will be incorporated into our talk. Thank you so much. But before we get into the talk, I'd like to share my comic with you this morning. And this one's really a good one, too. And it is two doctors in the OR. And the two doctors are observing their patient. And you will notice that the patient is floating above the table. And both of the doctors in the comic say, mental note, the yellow tank is helium. I love that. So I don't want you floating away during my lesson here, so just please remember that. Humor is good for the soul. Humor is good for the soul. Right now we have Papa Charlie here. Myrtle is still in St. Unity, and Papa Charlie just came to check up on Reverend Michael to make sure he's going to be a good boy this morning, and I promise I will be. But I'd like to sync up right now vibrationally with St. Unity. Since 1890, someone has been holding that sacred space of divinity, of healing, health, prosperity, and illumination for all mankind since 1890. And right now during this service, this moment, this Sunday morning, someone is in that Silent Unity Chapel, in that space with all the prayer claims that they have received. And they're holding that sacred watch, the high watch of truth, knowing that those prayers are answered in divine timing, in divine harmony, and that everything is working out according to the absolute truth that we know to be true. And so we just give thanks for Silent Unity, for that concept, that divine idea that Myrtle had and Charles supported her in. And I want to sync up again that energy, knowing that that energy is here with us right now. And it's also with you wherever you are watching this YouTube video. We are connected. We're plugged in. We truly are one. And we just say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. A spiritual wake-up call. A spiritual wake-up call. So the question I'd like to pose for us this morning is, are we looking for the God signs in our life? There's different types of wake-up calls. Some can come from health challenges. Some can come from just having an aha moment. But I believe if we're on this journey of truth, we will have spiritual wake-up calls. And they're usually more than just one call, because we're open and receptive to this truth. So I'd like to say a little bit about these wake-up calls. Getting a wake-up call really isn't the hard part. The hard part is answering these calls that come into our souls and not ignoring them. When I'm speaking about a spiritual wake-up call, is that you have the aha, I am divine. I am divine, and I can overcome any littleness in me or any of my activities. That's what we're going to be talking about this morning, and some ways that we can incorporate some of these ideas into not only our prayer practice, but our daily life. So we are open and receptive and willing to take these vital ahas that we receive and put them into practice in our lives. I'd like to share a little story with you, and it's, consider the man who wanted a job confirmation. He went for a job interview, and he was looking for a confirmation. And as he was driving on the freeway, he saw a billboard to the side of the highway, and it said, quote, "If you're looking for a sign from God, this is it. It's often that simple." So the question is, are we really open and receptive again? Are we willing to see signs within our own life? Because sometimes when we get our spiritual ahas, they don't come with fireworks. They don't come with a whole bunch of hoopla. Sometimes they can come like that. But most of the time they come in the stillness of our consciousness when we realize that we truly have taken this truth into our life, and we're going to use it and apply it, and it makes sense. Which means that when we have these spiritual wake-up calls, what they are is they're like tuning points. They're turning points within our own lives. These wake-up calls are very significant because they cause soul shifting to happen within each and every one of us. As good Unity True students, we should have a whole catalog of different spiritual wake-up calls that we can have in our life. Because that means that we are getting that, yes, it's a feeling that you get, it's a nudge. Charles Fillmore would say it's almost like a little bit of electricity that goes through you. You just feel it. Yes, this is the right path. Now I understand what love is. I understand what hope is. I understand what wisdom is for me, and I can use that truth in my daily life. Spiritual wake-up calls get our attention. They transform our lives if we allow them truly to become a part of our daily practice. The key word there is really attention. Are we willing to be there in the moment, to give the attention to that little nudge, that little spiritual nudge that we're having? All spiritual awakening signs are unique to the individual, our individual past, and the receptive consciousness. We live in a world that is dictated by our consciousness. We live from our conscious awareness. So the key is really how receptive are we? Which kind of brings in the idea of denials and affirmations again. Many of us are so filled up, there's no room. There's really little space for really these aha moments, these spiritual wake-up calls to really get our attention. So this morning, I invite us to be more in tune with our own rhythms of our own mind, body, and soul. Madison Taylor shares an important idea concerning these wake-up calls, and it is, each day offers us an opportunity to renew our resolve to the universe that we are ready for change. Here's the deal. Are you ready for change? I mean, really. And I'm not talking about just lip service. I'm talking, are you ready for change? The spiritual change that your soul is truly yearning for. And what you're yearning for is what your soul needs. Every soul is uniquely different. So, one of the ideas I want to share this morning is we need to be like a detective, and we need to have spiritual clues. Our soul will give us spiritual clues. We have the clues there if we're willing to be attentive, to see them. Again, maybe they won't be on the billboard. Maybe they won't be in the newspaper. But that something will happen. Something will shift. The mail truck will drive by. You will find the toothpaste you're looking for at the store. It could be something, just something that triggers within you. Yes, this is a spiritual wake-up call. Again, we exhaust ourselves figuring out how to make changes sometimes, and sometimes we even give up. As good true students, we roll up our sleeves. Sometimes we have to take a breath or take a pause, but as good true students, we don't give up. We take a breath, we recenter, and we move forward. And we allow these spiritual wake-up calls to become part of our daily life. We're looking for them every day. Each day offers opportunity to renew and to declare to this universe we are ready for our spiritual wake-up call. So this morning, I'd like to set the intention for this talk and for the remainder of this week and going on from there. Are you willing to set the intention that you're going to have a spiritual wake-up call and experience somehow during the day, every 24 hours? You willing to really make that intention? And it doesn't need to be huge. It can be something little. Maybe it's you need to go to bed earlier. Maybe you need another 10 minutes in your meditation time. But set that intention. And I truly know that you will see that nudge, that spiritual wake-up call will go, and you will hear it. And it'll be something that is unique and specific to your own life journey. Again, we're not here to change other people. We're a full-time job. We're here to really awaken who we are in our journey. Another idea, important idea concerning wake-up calls I'd like to share with you is from some wisdom from the Jewish scriptures. This is the book of Psalms, and it's chapter 119, verse 151. You are near, Lord, and all of your commandments are true. Again, you are near, Lord, and all your commandments are true. And what this is telling us is the Lord is the Lord of our own being. The Lord is the Christ, the law within us. And we know this Lord is near because it's outpicturing in and as us. If God is here, God is working through us. We are the expression of God. If God has fingers and toes, guess what? There are fingers and toes. There's no separate entity floating around someplace in the galaxy. We are that expression, and God is expressing in and through us every single moment. So, how do we realize this truth? We really let guidance flow through us. How receptive are you to letting, that's a good word, letting the guidance flow through us? Sometimes we are struggling to find our way. Sometimes we're struggling to get out of situations or relationships. Are we open to help? Are we open to help ourselves? Are we willing to spend the time in a prayer practice? Are we willing to read the daily word once in the morning and once at night? Are we willing to do whatever our soul is telling us individually to do? That's the key, because that's how you are going to guarantee that you're going to be in the flow of this divine guidance. And this guidance will come in a spiritual wake-up call for each and every one of us. We make a universal declaration because the stagnation that we can feel in our life, but being stuck, being in a place that we don't move, really comes from the negative energies that we are experiencing. So here's the deal. If you're experiencing some backflow, you're experiencing some resistance in any aspect of your life, that's spiritual stagnation. And we are not here to live in spiritual stagnation. So what we want to do is make the universal claim that I am the Christ, and I have a right to spiritual wake-up calls that are going to be unique to me in my own soul journey. It's what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore did. All the years that they ran Silent Unity and the legacy they have left with us, they always were attentive to those nudges that they were getting from Spirit. The teacher of teachers has something to share with us this morning about spiritual wake-up calls, and this is Emma Curtis Hopkins. And again, she is the woman who taught all the New Thought teachers that we really know and love, from Ernest Holmes to Charles and Myrtle Fillmore to, you just name Ernest Holmes, all these individuals, they were so touched by her powerful teachings. And she says something very important about us this morning I'd like to share with us about spiritual wake-up calls. She says, divine wisdom is demonstrated by the perfect judgment with which I administer upon affairs. Again, divine wisdom is demonstrated by the perfect judgment with which I administer upon affairs. She's talking about who is administrating this? We are. It's the I am within us. And when we work from that I am understanding, we truly have wisdom. And we allow that wisdom to show up in our life. Because wisdom is a spiritual wake-up call. A real idea of divine wisdom is a spiritual wake-up call. But are we attentive? Are we going to hear it this time? Are we going to put it away and I'll write a scratchy note and then I'll deal with it when I go into my prayer times? So one of the things we need to do is we need to really have God communicates. How does God communicate with us? We need to have an open channel of communication at all times. And that means that God communicates with us in dreams, with the people we meet, a song on the radio, a simple now I see A, B, C, D. I can see where it all strings together. It's difficult to understand with hindsight how our choices add up to our current situations. I believe many times we don't see that we truly are creating our situations. We are creating our field of attraction. And having these spiritual wake-up calls allows us to have attunement, to bring us back into perfect alignment with our own Christ nature. One important idea I'd like to say is I think we need to reflect on is let's examine the stories we keep telling ourselves. What kind of stories do you keep telling yourself? What kind of tales are you still bringing forward? And again, hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying that those events didn't happen, but why are we still telling the stories if they don't allow us to grow and to expand? Let's learn the lessons and let's go into a new chapter. We recognize and we learn from our life because these wake-up calls really call us to more life, to the divine life within us. And they help us reshape our life choices. The Science Mind textbook says, the answer to every question is within us because we are within Spirit. And Spirit is an indivisible whole. An indivisible whole. It's another word for omnipresence. It means wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Breathe into that truth. Breathe into a higher understanding of what that can mean for you in your life. Wherever there's challenges appearing in your life, where you have kind of a relationship snag, whatever is going on in your life, realize that since we're within Spirit, that presence is indivisible within each and every one of us. And that allows us to recognize our divine worth in every moment. In Unity, we do not believe that we have original sin. We believe we have divine worth. We believe we are worthy of the name of the indwelling Christ. We are worthy to be sons and daughters of the Most High God. And when we realize that we have worth, we really end the cycles, our old cycles, and we enter into a new way of being, a new way of understanding, a new understanding of the Christ within us through these spiritual wake-up calls. How we do this is we review and we do our interior work of our past, and that helps us. It helps make us positive, and it really is a self-assurement. It means that we're going to have progress. And I'm here to tell you, just because you pray once a day for a week doesn't mean you're going to levitate. It doesn't mean that all your snags of life or frustrations of life are going to just dissolve. But I'm here to make the claim and the truth be known that if you engage in a prayer practice based that you are divine, that you're the Christ, and you're worthy, I am here to say this spiritual nuggets of truth that will pop within you will really wake you up to showing and living differently in those situations, and will bring about true transformation. So again, we declare our intentions to this universe. Why are we declaring it to the universe? Because the universe is always responding to us. We are truly architects of our own life. No one is above us with strings. We're not puppets. We're not divine puppets. We're not filled with a bunch of sand. We're not paper dolls. We are living, breathing spirit. And that means we have the ability of choice. We have the ability to use will, which is really a great, great gift that we have. Again, this inner work is not always easy, but I'm here to say that it changes our lives. Powerfully, it does. I'd like to share a story with you, and it's about wake-up calls. Spiritual wake-up calls are positive experiences, moments we perceive reality at a heightened intensity. It's a feeling of power, a sense of inner well-being. That's what I'm talking about, a spiritual wake-up call. And this experience gives us a sense of real connection and meaning with our life. So if you do not feel you're connected to your life or your relationships or even this truth, you're not applying the truth the way you want to. You want to start back at the beginning, start back at the basics. One presence, one power. It seems paradoxical these experiences are frequently introduced by states of despair or turmoil. That sometimes the reason why is because it gets our attention. We stop that mind chatter enough to say, and then we realize you have to do something different. Abraham Maslow suggested peak experiences, which I'm talking about as these little wake-up calls, suggest peak experiences happen to people who are balanced, creative, and psychologically healthy. So again, how healthy are you? How balanced are you? But these findings also suggest the opposite can be frequently the case. I'd like to share a story with you. A 20-year-old woman became severely depressed and was admitted to a hospital. While she was there, she picked up a marble which happened to be lying on her bedside cabinet, just a little blue marble, and she started to play with it in her hands. You know, here's this woman in depression. She's in this facility. She finds a little marble. She's just giving attention to that. And then it happened. She had a spiritual wake-up call. In that brief moment of just rolling that marble, just looking at that little marble in her hand in that facility, all of a sudden, it was as if her normal world melted away. Her depression left her and was replaced by beauty and perfection. That's the spiritual wake-up call. It's like the sliver in the film has been cut, and you really see the radiance from which we are from. She goes on to describe that everything she saw was beautiful, and she saw pure perfection. She described it as she saw reality as simply perfect oneness. That's what we teach. That's what unity is about, perfect oneness. This one woman felt removed from everything that was personal. This is that cosmic experience. They call it cosmic consciousness. That's what she experienced, just rolling this little marble, this blue marble in the palm of her hand. Everything seemed just right for her. To her, the marble was a reflection of the universe. All my problems and suffering suddenly seemed meaningless. To me, they seemed ridiculous, a misunderstanding of my true nature and everything around me. Breathe into that truth. That's what a spiritual wake-up call does for us. There is a feeling of acceptance and oneness. So anytime you're experiencing what I'm speaking of as spiritual wake-up call, you will have an experience of oneness, and also you will be willing to accept it. It's not something, no, because if it's that, then it's really not a spiritual wake-up call at the vibration I'm speaking about. This woman had truly had euphoria. It rushed through her consciousness, a pure knowledge and understanding that she really gained by looking at the whole and seeing a new reality. She found a new porthole in her, and this porthole, this spiritual wake-up call, lasted this woman for quite a few days. And I'm here to say that once you really have a spiritual wake-up call, and it can be something simple like touching something or like this little blue marble, it changes your life. You show up differently. And it's hard sometimes to describe this event, this euphoria, this feeling of bliss within you to other individuals because they are on their own individual path. You have your own individual path. And I believe our soul has seeded our life with these lights, these seeds of light within us to bring us back to center, to bring us back to divine unity. From the book, The Anatomy of Healing Prayer, this wisdom also can refresh us with spiritual insights. We believe that the universe is a spiritual system, not evolving into one, and we believe it is now. The power in that statement, really the understanding in that statement, the vitality of that statement is we believe that the universe is a spiritual system not evolving into one, and we believe it is now. Creation is finished. Creation and the laws are finished. It's for us to discover what we want to create in our life. And that's where really these spiritual wake-up calls really bring the bliss and deep understandings into our life. So what we need to do is we need to hone our spiritual intuition. That spiritual intuition is where this is going to flow up, where this guidance is going to flow up into our life and consciousness. In our physical shoes, what's our dominant quest? Why are you here? Are you here just to have children? Are you here just to pay your bills? Are you here? What's the meaning of your life? It's a question we need to ask each and every one of our own soul selves every single day. Because are we here just entertaining ourselves? Not saying there's anything wrong with having entertainment, but that really is not the goal of a good true student. Are we just pleasing ourselves? Just makes me happy. I'm going to have 2 pieces of pumpkin pie because it just makes me happy. Are we connecting with ourselves? Are we in the rhythms of our body? Are we getting enough sleep? Are we waking up at a good time? Are we watching who we are? Are we enjoying ourselves? Are we really beings enjoying ourselves? Do we have hobbies that bring us pleasure? Are we loving ourselves? And I'm not talking about a selfish love. I'm talking about loving ourselves as creations of the one, of the universe. That's a spiritual divine idea. That's a spiritual wake-up call. Some say, and this is spoken about unity, some say that we are teaching selfishness in our truth teachings. I say, and we say, and I truly believe this, and this is what Charles or Myrtle taught too, that unless you are somewhat divinely soul selfish in your own life, then you don't respect yourself. And again, I'm not saying narcissistically. I'm saying you respect yourself because you are the I am that I am is expressing right here and right now. You have divine DNA within you. You're the Christ. If we don't realize this truth and we're not connected to it 24/7, we are truly not in the flow. There's going to be separation. We're going to feel fragmented. And what's going to happen is if we're fragmented, that's the energy, that's the frequency, that's the vibration we're going to share with the world around us. That's not who we've come to be. That is not who we have come to be. In the Jewish scriptures, I'd like to share this truth, and this is from Proverbs chapter 27, verses 23 through 24. Know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. For riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations. And metaphysically, what this is saying is know the condition of your flocks. Those are the flocks within your own consciousness. Those are your thoughts. Those are your ideas. Those are your feelings within you. You need to monitor what's going on with the flocks within your own consciousness. There are the herds. We live symbolically in the ideas that we herd together. And again, we need to be attentive to where we are. Again, for riches do not endure forever. Some thoughts don't fit us now. We don't wear the same shoes that we did, hopefully, when we were in third grade. We have changed. Those shoes served us, but now we have to have a different idea. We have to have an expanded idea. And again, a crown is not secure for all generations. What this prophet is really telling us is that we need to be attentive. We need to look for our generations to come. And those generations are experiences that we're going to experience in our everyday life. It's really a very vital truth, especially if we're in tune to these spiritual wake-up calls. We say, this isn't working. How many times have you ever said that to yourself? This isn't working. Something is not right. Or things have to change. These thoughts and words are our inner soul wake-up call. It's the voice within us saying, enough is enough. A spiritual enough is enough. And when you say that and you put a pause on the frustration or the chaos that you're experiencing, when you're controlling the flocks within your own consciousness and denying and saying, I'm no longer having any herd thoughts about fear, loss, lack, or anxiety. I let those herds go and I focus on the ideas and thoughts and images that I do want to experience in my life. It's a wake-up call. It's your wake-up call. It's my wake-up call. We don't need a neurologist to diagnose us or a car accident to wake us up. Do we really? Now, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes we have to really trip and land on the ground. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to have shingles. You don't have to get really sick. You don't have to have your house and your life just be torn apart if we're willing to be in the moment, that holy moment, and say, yes, I got that spiritual wake-up call. I don't need to go down that road, bend down that road. That's not where I'm going to go, because that road is a dead end. I'm going to have to back up and get back on the highway of life. It's time and space. It's a challenge to really authentically, really learn from the situations that we're in. Life appears from a third dimensional world as absolute chaos. And I'm here to say that I believe that when you live in a third dimensional world of tit and tat, and people always upset about this, or even exchange, going back and forth, I believe it does cause depression. I really do. Because it's a no-win situation. There's no divine ideas. There's no divine feelings. You're just kind of going back and forth. It reminds me of the hamster just rolling in the wheel. That's what third dimensional thinking is, rolling and rolling. And of course, the hamster is getting tired. I'm not questioning that. But he's not going anywhere. And that's what happens when we allow thoughts, these herd thoughts, these gathering of thoughts or emotions that don't serve us. Let's deal with them. I'm not saying we hide them. Let's deal with them with the light of truth, but let's move on. Some questions I think we can ponder this morning. Is our life on autopilot? This could be our wake-up call this morning. We never put ourselves first. You're always putting yourself last somewhere in your life. That's a wake-up call. We're someone we don't recognize anymore. We become people pleasers. And I think it's easy in a world to fall into this one. That's a wake-up call. That's a wake-up call for us this morning. Or are we numbing ourselves with food or shopping or liquor or TV, any type of distractions? That's a wake-up call. It's time for us to regather our thoughts. It's time for us to regather the herds within our mind so we are ready for the spiritual wake-up calls that we can experience. Or are we worn down, stressed out, and depleted? Of course, I know none of you are like that. Again, it's our wake-up call. Let's use it as a gift, a divine gift, a golden key in which we can unlock more golden understandings and treats and understandings and a higher understanding of the high watch within each and every one of us. Ernest Holmes has something to share with us on this idea of spiritual wake-up calls, and it is, God in me is the power I think with. I use as much of this one mind as I now understand, using it the best I know how. I'm going to say this again because this is really a definition of who we are and how these spiritual wake-up calls appear in our life. God in me is the power I think with. I use as much of this one mind, that's divine mind, as I now understand, using it the best I know how. That's what we're here to do the best that we know how. And tomorrow we do a little better. And then on Tuesday we do a little bit better. And on Wednesday we do a little bit better. We don't beat ourselves up. We don't get in a funk. We take it one day at a time. So again, trouble and personal destruction. What happens many times is a spiritual wake-up call comes again in maybe dreams of frustration that we have. It can come in symbols or in daily events or occasionally out of nowhere. You'll be doing something, drinking your coffee, and something will just drop in. That's a spiritual wake-up call if you're willing to listen to it, whatever it might be. And I'm here to say, too, those wake-up calls, usually the voice is very quiet. It's not a shouting and a screaming voice. If you're getting what you call a spiritual wake-up call and the voice is shouting and screaming, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's really your ego talking. I have found, at least in my experience. So don't expect a blowhorn. A simple, small voice within us that you know you have that energy that this is true. We can't deal with reality unless we are aware of reality. Are you aware of your reality? What's reality mean to you? Reality in unity truth is to know there's one presence, one power. And again, that doesn't mean that there's no selfishness. There's a lot of selfishness that goes on in this world. Read ancient history. Nothing's really new. But we don't have to show up that way. We can show up differently. Abraham Hicks shares a vital truth to these spiritual wake-up calls, kind of an idea of looking at them, and she says, because others cannot vibrate in your experience, they cannot affect the outcome of your experience. Whoa, let's read that one again. Because others cannot vibrate in your experience. You are the only one vibrating in your consciousness. They cannot affect the outcome of your experience. You're not a product of your environment unless you choose to think differently. That's an interesting truth. It's a truth that we really need to take in. We are the skippers, the captains of our own consciousness. We do not have to have other people get into our consciousness or let their layovers or their thoughts that they want to put onto us really affect us to the level that we do. It's not healthy and it's not good for us. Actually, it becomes, they call it persuasion. Actually, it's manipulation. People can be pushing against us, and we think it will be negative to us, but it will not be negative to us if we're willing to remember who we are. They're doing their own thing. Let them push. Let them push. Let them be as negative as they want. It doesn't have to affect us or our consciousness or our spiritual wake-up calls. They are affecting what happens in their experience, their point of attraction. That's a truth that truly we could live our life chewing on for eternity. It's about them. That's their life, their journey. This is our life. This is our point of attraction. We are dealing with where we are, and that's what we teach in truth. A famous Russian psychologist shares a truth with us, and I'd like to share it with you this morning. It is, if you wish to get out of prison, the first thing you must do is realize you are in prison. If you think you are free, you can't escape. And what he's really trying to share with us is that most of us don't realize that we are asleep. We're asleep to our divinity. We've allowed this third-dimensional world of shapes, forms, smells to truly dictate how we are going to show up. Because the world's in a bad space, I'm in a bad mood. Because the world's having a snag, I'm going to have a day that's snagged. Doesn't have to be that way. We control how we're going to experience our journey. We are the points of power. We make a connection, and it's an enormous gift we can give not only ourselves, but everyone. We want to get out of prison. We want to get out of negative, limited thinking. We don't belong there. But it's really true, like that individual just said, that Russian philosopher, is that if you don't even know you're in prison, you don't even know you're in limitation, you don't even know you're in poverty, you don't even realize that you already are starting off on the wrong foot. You need to get a bigger idea of you, who you are, and the God self within you. I'd like to share some wisdom for a very ancient, a very contemporary but ancient sage, and this is Dolly Parton. She says, you'll never do a whole lot unless you're brave enough to try. Again, you'll never do a whole lot unless you are brave enough to try. You brave enough to step out and be who you've come to be? You brave enough to truly stand in the steps of your own divinity. You see, by changing, again, our self-stories, the herds, the ideas, the flocks within our own consciousness and our subconscious mind, the stories we tell ourselves, and by acknowledging our past, we can get through it. Remember, in truth, when we talk about denial or renunciation or dealing with things, it's not to put a lid on it. Because if you put a lid on it, it's going to blow up. What you do is you accept it to the best of your ability where you are. It's called forgiveness. And you move on. You don't get stuck there. But you're really willing to be brave enough to do it, like Dolly Parton shares with us. So are you willing to be brave enough to say, I deserve to have spiritual clarity. I deserve to have a higher understanding of my own divinity. Do you really believe you deserve it? Because if you do not believe you deserve it, it's not going to happen. So in closing, I'd like to say, find your spiritual wake-up call this week. I can't tell you how it's going to outpicture, but I will say if you set the intention and you're brave enough, as Dolly Parton says, to try to really step out of your comfort zone, to truly to discover who you are, what you want to do this week. Next week you can do something different. But this week you're willing to stand up and say, I want to do things different. And I know that you will find the treasure of the divine holy marble, a divine marble within you, that divine idea. It can be a Christ idea within your own soul self, whatever it may be. It may be that marble might represent having a healthier lifestyle. It may mean that you want to eat differently. It may mean that you want to read different books. It may means that you want to attend the Zoom class that Reverend Michael does on Wednesday. Whatever it is, however it outpictures, truly remember that those divine ideas are like that blue marble that woman had. Let's find that one divine idea, a spiritual wake-up call. But remember, that divine idea can only be a spiritual wake-up call if we're willing to claim it and say it's our spiritual wake-up call. May this be the Sunday that we wake up, that we remember, that we regenerate, and that we truly know that we are divine from head to toe. Thank you, and God bless. This morning, this is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to share our love offerings, our gifts and tithes, and I invite you to take whatever your gift may be. Just blow in the energy of your soul energy, imbue it with your love, your wisdom, whatever your aha might be. And even if you don't have a pure aha right now, breathe into the truth knowing that you will receive one, and realize that you're blessed and that you're holy and you are worthy. And again, we are a tithing church. It goes forth from Unity Way Church. We tithe back to Unity Village, Silent Unity, Daily Word, Unity Urban Ministerial, Unity Worldwide Ministries, 913 Tracy. We tithe to where we're spiritually fed. And that's what both Charles and Myrtle Fillmore taught. And that's what we do at Unity Way Church. We are in integrity. So if you understand it and you believe this truth, if you'd please join me with our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. And we just say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Our prayer of protection. I think probably the most important thing this morning is we need to protect our own souls. We need to protect our own divinity. And I don't mean hiding somewhere in a cave. I mean protect the understanding that you have for yourself, that you individually are worthy. You're divine. You are precious in the sight of God. And that is the truth that we teach. And I really like when we say this prayer, we hold that for ourselves, but all humanity, but also for this universe, because we truly are one. We are one in the Spirit. If you join with me, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. May this Sunday truly be the Sunday that you find your blue marble, that divine idea, and may that marble represent an awakening with you, truly a spiritual wake-up call, that you truly are divine, that you truly are divine, and that you will ever be divine. That's who you are. You're the Christ. You and I are that truth. So let's go forth this week and let's live it. I'll see you next Sunday here at the same channel, and just thank you again for what you are living the truth, living the understandings that you have in your own life, because that's how it's done, one step at a time. Find your blue marble this week. Again, thank you, and God bless.